everyone. We're sorry for the delay. Executive session took a little longer than expected. We're back from executive session. Can I have a first and a second to re-enter back into open session and proceed with our discussion scheduled for today?
So moved.
Seconded.
First, second, so move. And moving forward, for our first discussion item, we're going to change the agenda. We're going to go with LIPA, okay? And Kern, you are the liaison to the assessor's office. Can you please introduce the topic?
Sure. So I'm going to ask Laverne to come up. Hold on a second. So every other town has negotiated with LIPA in terms of pilot payments, except for Riverhead. So Laverne, do you want to just come up? Why don't you come to the table and explain where we are right now with LIPA and the pilot payments, and kind of what your attorney is
Should
doing?
the town, just respect, Bob, should the town attorney be here because we're in litigation? So really, shouldn't the town attorney be present because we're in ongoing litigation with them? We have open
The
discussions.
discussion has nothing to do with the litigation.
Okay.
The discussion has to do with payment that's due to districts. Every town, and some of them are in litigation in this respect, has received funds from LIPA. We are just, LIPA is made a proposal to us that they want to pay out the funds. We know that there is litigation. However, they're willing to support our districts. They're willing to give us the payments for 2021, and whatever happens with the litigation, thereafter, they're going to take care of it. It just gets negotiated. And these districts are in dire need of the money. Every town, from what I understand, every town in Suffolk County has worked with LIPA and has provided the funds, and Riverhead is the only town that has not. And I think that it's a very easy fix. We have a letter from LIPA saying, as an alternative to what's going on, they're prepared to pay the same amount of pilot paid in 2021 as an interim measure, subject to the reservations described in a May 26th letter. And I think that we have to move this forward. And Laverne, can you just give us your take on it?
Before we do that, Larry, can you close the door? We're getting
Yeah,
an
we're
echo.
hearing that echo.
Thank you.
And maybe the other second door.
No.
Oh, it's
I
coming from
agree.
the hall.
I really,
Can we get a town attorney in here?
Yeah.
Just for-
Sure.
Joanne, could you maybe have one of the town attorneys come in on this? Yep.
Eric is aware that and he's on, CC'd on, on the letter, so,
Okay, good.
yes, so he would know.
was Scott DeSimone invited here today?
Oh, wait, it's,
What?
no, he wasn't. This is a work session to decide where we're gonna go. Also, he's, you have to pay him, and,
I know, but I understand that he hasn't
well, he'll be watching this and we'll.
contacted and followed through on some of the requests.
Okay, well, that'll come out, yeah. Eric, regarding the LIPA requests that they want to provide pilot payments for, at the same scale as 20 through 2021, the fire districts and the library, they're all waiting for these funds, and all we need is a letter from the assessor. You're familiar with this, right? With this issue?
To some extent, there's.
Yeah, because you were
outside
CC'd
counsel
on these
hired.
letters.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so we're here just to have an open discussion about it. And Laverne, did you want to start on
Yeah,
your end?
I'll just give you some background. Historically, all the towns have made all the LIPA properties taxable, and they were sending out tax bills, when in reality, they're all exempt under public authorities law. So the LIPA sued all the 10 towns. They sued Suffolk County. There was a decision, I think, by Judge Ross, saying that they never brought up the issue that they were exempt under public authorities law. And I think LIPA is appealing that decision. And so the writing was on the wall to us that the properties are in fact exempt under public authorities law. So we made them exempt, and we notified all the taxing jurisdictions how much they lost in taxable value, and that LIPA was to be making pilot payments instead of tax payments. So the memo I handed out was given to you last year, telling you that this was probably going to involve the accounting department and the legal department, and we performed our statutory function and made them exempt, and that was the extent of our involvement, and the receiver also had no involvement in preparing pilots or accepting money, because I believe, I think Lori's here.
She is here.
She only collects taxes, not pilot payments, so our involvement ended with the fact that we made them exempt, and then that ball was handed off to special counsel, town attorney, and financial administrator.
So is there a reason why we're not willing to take their tax payment that they offered for tax year 2020 to 2021?
2000 to 2021.
It's 21, 22 taxes.
I'm sorry, it's
payments.
I'm
They're
looking
not
at the
taxes,
wrong.
they're pilots.
A pilot.
I think we have the fire district here. Did you want to come forward? Yeah.
Yeah, no, you
Either
can come
one.
up, yeah. Come up, yeah.
There's a mic on the table.
Hello, Chuck Thomas, Chairman of the Board of Fire Commissioners for Jamesport.
Good morning.
I'm also President of Riverhead Town Fire Districts. I represent, or we represent, all of the fire districts within the town of Riverhead. So we're stuck, okay? We, with the help of Laverne, we compiled the information that we were directed through her office and Scott DeSimone. We submitted the paperwork to LIPA. LIPA responded to us, basically saying that they want a consolidated bill, okay? One bill listing all of the separate special taxing districts.
Okay.
It includes the school district, fire districts, library, what have you. We can't do that, okay? So they're asking the town to do that, a consolidated bill from the receiver of taxes from the town of Riverhead to do that. They're willing to make a payment based on review, and it would be one check, and then it would be dispersed to the special taxing districts.
So how hard is it to get that letter, Laverne? Is it complicated, or?
We don't do that. That's not an assessor's function.
Okay.
That's why I'm here.
This is very interesting. So we're holding up money, but you
The
do the
assessors are-
assessment
Yeah, but they
of
don't-
the property, so all they're asking you is to put it in one consolidated letter.
We don't do pilot payments. We don't do pilot agreements.
That's nothing, yeah,
It's a pilot payment, it's not a tax bill.
Right.
but can you
Part of it.
just give them the assessed value
We did that. All
in
tax
one
and
letter,
We
consolidated?
don't get involved with notifying the taxing, the property owner. Their properties were made exempt, and it was up to the town to determine the direction they were going to go, whether they were going to do a consolidated bill or ask the jurisdictions to bill on behalf of themselves.
What do you recommend? I mean, what do you recommend? That we do a consolidated bill and then do the
It's a
disbursement?
legal question, and I really think that
Eric?
outside counsel should be consulted.
Okay,
He's
so,
representing us. There's ongoing litigation with all the 10 towns. 5 towns did not make the properties exempt. They're still taxable. They're still sending out tax bills, and that will probably be litigated by LIPA and those 5 West End towns.
So LIPA is asking the town of Riverhead for a communication, a letter listing all the taxing districts, the amounts, and they will make a pilot payment to those districts. And we as a town can't produce that letter.
Based on this letter that they've sent here, June 29, 22, it appears that irrespective of the ongoing litigation, they'd propose paying the same cumulative total amount that they paid in 21, 22. Now, without having consulted with outside counsel, that would be, something that you could do by stipulation, provided it didn't have any sort of prejudice on the ongoing litigation. Ultimately, since we have outside counsel assigned to that matter, that's something that should be run by him prior to entertaining that type of stipulation.
Providing funds in the interim until litigation is completed doesn't sound far-fetched. These districts need the money. They're just requesting, it seems to me that LIPA is working with us in good faith. And to
There'd
say
be
we have
ample
to go back to
justification for it, yes.
Yeah,
But it's a determination and a matter that the board should be advised by outside counsel on prior to doing.
okay.
well, we can't fail the
If
districts.
everything was being done in good faith, we wouldn't be in litigation.
Oh, well, that's a case,
So I'm a little leery of considering one payment to be made based on the previous payment that was made, with it setting a policy or setting a precedence, if you will, for future payments. It's difficult when we're in litigation. It's difficult even to sit up here and talk about this when it's in litigation.
well, it's only for, they would require this letter on a yearly basis, so, and this letter only indicates for that 20 to 2021 until the matter is resolved. So I don't think we're gonna create a precedence on it, because
But
they make yearly payments.
Can
But
I
You
ask a
also,
question?
lose not any, but you lose a little bit of the urgency behind it, because, once you start like Tim said, precedent of entering into this type of agreement, this litigation could drag on and on and on. So from year to year to year, do we just keep going back to this 2021 payment, right? And maybe the other side's comfortable with it. Maybe they don't really have a idea or notion to press the litigation towards conclusion. So that's something to consider as
Bill,
well.
financially, is there any expectation that those numbers would go up through the remaining years?
Yeah, so what happened is, this is actually a litigation between the county and LIPA, but obviously it affects us in other jurisdictions. So our outside counsel handled all of this, and the calculation is basically, they have not paid, the county's been making us whole over the last 6 years or so, and they have not paid the full bill. So we had a starting point in 2021 in which we can bill them to 21, 22. It was limited to 2%, and not every jurisdiction had a 2% increase. So what outside counsel did is gave me the monies that were paid previous year. We calculate our rate increase, which wasn't anything in our districts, and then calculated the rate increases for all other districts. Our outside counsel sent this to LIPA on our behalf, and my understanding is we may have to get in touch with him if anything's changed. He also sent every other district their bills to review and send out, expecting them to do that. We do collect pilot payments for other districts when we negotiate the pilot. So we have a couple of those. There's other ones that the IDA does, and they go and collect the money. I think the confusion here is because we collect bills, tax bills, the tax receiver does, she doesn't send out a bill. The bill is sent out based on the county warrant. That's how she has authority to do that. So that's, I think, where it gets muddy, and that's where I think the outside counsel has to confirm with us, because I spoke to him back when we were doing this, and he said, no, I'll send it in for you guys and send it in for the other districts, so you only put in for your districts and let those districts put in their bill every year going forward.
Is it fair to say that the county then is what's holding this process up?
I think LIPA is what's holding this
Okay.
process up, because they want a consolidated bill, and we haven't agreed to do that based on our outside counsel's recommendation.
Laverne, you've discussed this with Simone, correct? About the letter? You haven't discussed this at all?
No, it doesn't concern us. It would concern Eric and you. It doesn't concern the assessor. We're out of the picture.
Why was outside counsel not invited to this work session?
I don't know.
We didn't know, we wanted to bring it to the board and to bring it, to see where we want to go. And so now we know that we should consult with outside counsel, and have the attorney's office. This is a work session and not everything, it's a fact-finding, session, and now we know we have to go to, we have to speak. So, Eric, you need to speak to, their counsel and see where we're going, but somewhere along the line, these districts need the money, correct? I mean, you don't get these funds.
So
What are the causes?
we did what we were supposed to do. We were informed from Laverne's office on July 1st last year that we were not going to be receiving money. Do not encumber, make that part of our budget. And we took the anticipated pilot payment and separated it and made it part of our budget. So that is part of our operating budget for this year. So we are anticipating that money. We did it right, and now we're looking for the money. And it's been a while. It started really last October, and it's going to get resolved, but when it hits November, December of this year, and we don't have that money, maybe we can get a loan. I don't.
Well,
Is it gonna
it's not our
affect
funds
your
alone.
hold on.
We have $1.5 million
I understand that. That was
due
a-
us also. I know, I understand what you're
So-
saying, but we have
Hold
$1.5
on.
million due us also.
Critically important is to know if this is going to affect fire operations for the districts. Is it going to affect fire operations and
It's
response?
part of our operating budgets, so you can look at it any way you
Yeah.
want. I'm just gonna,
Yeah, that's
it would not affect how any of our fire districts handle anything, because we take care of everything.
I just want to point out that the jurisdictions should have reduced their levy by the amount to be anticipated by pilot payments, as any pilot payment they might get, either through IDA or a solar pilot. And if they did not reduce their levy, they're unharmed. What happened is the tax rate would have increased, and then this money coming in the back door as a pilot would just be a windfall. So every jurisdiction was told that they're supposed to reduce their levy, and if they didn't, they're not harmed.
We
This-
reduced
this-
our levy.
Yeah.
They
It was-
reduced their levy, but I don't know.
If they didn't reduce their levy, then they may have pierced their cap without realizing it. So they had to reduce their levy if this was more than 2%, or just they were collecting 2% more, it would put them in a position where they pierced their cap unknowingly. So we reduced our levy by $1 million in all of our funds, by $1,493,000, because that's the pilot payment that's due to us through 5 different funds.
So I have a question. How long has this suit been going on with LIPA? Have we had hired outside counsel? How many years?
Well, it's just this year because of the suit that was brought by
Okay.
the
The suit-
LIPA to the county.
Yes,
Because
the
county
county
won-
and LIPA's been going on, I'm gonna say 6 years.
That's,
Maybe less than that. I just know that they've been paying us, making us whole. The county has, until they realize, why are we paying all this when LIPA never intends to pay that amount? And that's how I think LIPA got the county's attention, that now we have a lawsuit here, and they've agreed on what they've agreed on. They've made us whole up until 21, 22, and this is where we now have to bill ourselves.
But there's still,
We
a
need
lo-
to hear from our outside counsel.
Yes.
there's still
Okay.
a lot of, disagreement
I
on the.
anticipated that, but if we didn't do this, then we'd
Right.
be in November.
Right.
yeah. no, that's
Exactly.
good.
So,
But in
Thank you.
fairness, LIPA has been reaching out to us, and they have not gotten a response from the town. I've been in the office with Eric, and I've asked him to reach out to them. I've asked him to have Scott Simone contact him, and they are sitting there anxiously waiting to hear from us, and our outside counsel is not responding to their requests. And so there's a delay here, and it's unnecessary.
It is.
And I
This-
expressed that multiple times in your office.
You did.
Okay,
said
so
it.
that you have reached out to them, and we gotta get this money to our
So
districts.
here's what I would say,
This is-
as liaison to your department, and I know that you're not responsible for doing the pilot, but I would like to meet with you, Bill, and Eric immediately following the work session,
Yeah.
okay? And let's put an end to this today with getting outside counsel on the phone, all right?
And if we don't get outside counsel, then we're gonna go outside and get an opinion on this. And this should be taking months. Hopefully, we're gonna try to resolve this today. It seems to me that it's an easy fix. We just need a letter, and they give them their payments, and then we can work out the legal component. So thanks, Eric, for working on this. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Okay, our second discussion item, I'm gonna invite planner George Bergman to move.
No,
come-
Greg
Greg Bergman.
Welcome, all right.
It's been a long night, by the way, and a long day, but, to move forward on matters and surrounding agricultural worker housing, they call it, huh?
Why don't you guys come
At Old Fox Farm, and Greg, anybody else gonna join you?
I do have Dominic Moriali, who's the applicant's representative, as
Okay.
well as Ed Harb Senior, and I believe Ed Harb is
Okay.
a junior.
Yeah.
All right.
Welcome, farmers.
Always good to have farmers in the house.
Yes.
No farmers, no food, don't forget that.
Exactly.
Okay, so can you, take the lead?
Yep. So the planning department's received a application proposing to construct 3 agricultural worker housing units on an active farm parcel. Those ag worker housing units are going to consist of 2 mobile home units, which will each have 2 bedrooms, and a relocated single-family residence, which will contain a total of 4 bedrooms. The mobile home units are 14 feet wide by 70 feet long, and the single-family residence is 2 stories, again, with 4 bedrooms. The property is located on the north side of Sound Avenue in Jamesport, right at the eastern end of town. It shares its eastern property boundary with the town of Southold. The property is 19.4 acres in size and is located within the RA 80 zoning district. Directly to the south of the subject property is a LIPA substation, which also contains a Suffolk County Water Authority well site. Both its eastern and western property boundaries are shared with adjacent farm parcels, and directly to the north is the Halleckville State Preserve, which is owned by New York State. Subject property is presently unimproved with the exception of some deer fencing throughout the property. The applicants did recently get approval from the planning board, I think it was about 2 weeks ago, to construct 3 greenhouses on the property. The ag worker housing before you right now is considered a type 2 action under SECRA, as it's consistent with accepted farm management practices. Access to the property is taken by an existing driveway on the north side of Sound Avenue. That driveway is actually within the town of Southold, so they're entering in Southold and then it loops back to the west within the town of Riverhead. On page 3 of the staff report, I've identified the subject parcel, which is shown in red. They are relocating a single-family residence from a property within the town of Southold. The existing single-family residence, the location is shown in that green circle on figure 3 on page 3, and they're going to relocate it to the location approximately of the blue circle. I did speak with the applicant's representative. They are not proposing to, they're picking up the house. They are not proposing to traverse on town roads, so the house will not be traveling along Sound Avenue, so there should not be a need to coordinate anything with LIPA, police departments.
Just don't do it on a muddy day going across those farm
Yeah.
fields. It's pretty interesting how they move the houses, how
Yeah.
they lift them and move them.
The one thing I did recommend, if in the event they do need to, for some reason, move it along town roads, it needs to be coordinated with the police department and LIPA, just to
Sure.
make sure, we don't want to be doing it in the middle of pumpkin season or anything. The property is encumbered with a conservation easement, which is actually held by the New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation, which limits the use of the subject property to agricultural operations. The applicant's consultant did review this with the Office of Parks and Recreation. They basically blessed the plan as is, including the greenhouses, the ag worker housing. It's consistent with the conditions of the easement, and they've approved the location, the sizes, and all the aesthetics of the structures. One of the more outstanding issues, which is why this application was submitted in 2020, one of the kind of bigger things they needed to work with was water service to the subject property. They've consulted with both the Riverhead Water District and the Suffolk County Water Authority. Basically, because this property is landlocked, it does not contain any road frontage on Sound Avenue within the town of Riverhead. They've come up with an agreement where the development on this property is actually going to be served by the Suffolk County Water Authority. The property will still remain in the town of Riverhead Water District. It still will remain within the taxing district of the Riverhead Water District. But the Suffolk County Water Authority will provide a 1-inch service to this property to facilitate the development. The applicant did receive approval from the Suffolk County Department of Health Services for the design flow for all the greenhouses, bathrooms, and the ag worker housing. They received that approval on May 12th of 2022. The application was reviewed by the Ag Advisory Committee at its meeting on June 13th, and they recommended approval of the application as proposed. So I would ask the board, if they're okay, I would write up an approval resolution for the board to consider at its meeting next Tuesday. There are a number of conditions that would need to be placed on it, which are consistent with the ag worker housing section of our town code, which is 301-239. Among them, they basically need to get a rental permit. It'll be subject to annual inspections. It needs to be completed within 1 year of the granting of the permit. They need to assign basically a site manager, which will oversee the ag worker housing, just make sure they address any issues. I'm assuming that'll be an existing farm worker. No labor contractors on the premises. They shall not rent them out to outside. This is basically for workers of the farm, so they will not be rental units, for anybody aside from farm workers. Pretty straightforward, nothing really major. I think the applicant's done a good job of addressing the outstanding issues with health department and water, so.
Well, I see you did a lot of work. It looks really complete, and wish you luck. It's good to see farms enhancing and utilizing their space, and to keep you here, and you have my support to move forward with the resolution. How does the board feel?
Yeah, I would say as the lone farmer on the board that this is imperative for any farm operation to continue success, not only to be able to find workers, but be able to keep them with housing and with, good conditions. And I think this makes perfect sense. I'm glad it went to the Ag Advisory Committee, because that's a committee of peers, and they understand equally well how difficult the working situation is on farms. So I applaud you guys. I love the conditions of this, only for farm employees, and I think it makes perfect sense.
So I have one question, and I completely support it, having been in the industry for a number of years. I got a question for you, Craig. Craig? I always get it wrong.
George?
George?
Sure, Jeff, whatever.
You're being renamed too.
Yeah.
And maybe also for the harps, doesn't Ag and Markets do an annual inspection on ag worker housing?
Department of Labor, not Ag and
Yeah,
Markets.
so why does the town need to do it as Department of Labor? Why does the town need to do that in
The-
addition to the
The
Department?
town is the home jurisdiction. The Department of Labor really does it only for H-2A workers. That's the only
Okay.
time that they're called in for it.
Okay.
I think it's important also, not that anyone's going to do anything, make any improvements, but, just for safety, safety of the structures.
Absolutely.
It's commensurate with a rental permit inspection.
No
So
problem. I
if
love
somebody
it.
rents it, just to make sure they don't put up
Love it.
anything that's
Love
unsafe,
it. Support
demising
it.
walls, that sort of stuff,
Thank
so.
you.
He wants to
Thank you,
be
guys.
attorney.
And I think it's a smart thing to do.
just said it.
I'm
He was
hearing
gonna
that more
make,
farmers are looking
the
to do
assessor
just that, is
and
to
the
house
attorney.
workers.
On the letter.
It's-
Absolutely
Yeah,
have
because
to. It's critical.
It's critical, it is critical.
And you know what, they made it seem like this amount didn't know about it.
Continued success,
I
Farms
have
family.
100% support. I'm only just going to ask, only out of curiosity, tell me about the house that's being moved. Is it like a historic home or just more cost effective as opposed to building? Just, it's
Why
an
don't we
interesting
let
project.
Ed Hobbs talk to that issue,
Okay.
since it's his family that homesteaded it?
Okay,
Was it your family homestead, Jason?
yes, yes. So, it's right on our adjoining property, so right in that site, we have approximately 100 acres of continuous farmland, and that house goes back to the early 1800s
Well,
and was lived in by the farmers that lived there over the last 100 years or so, the Reeve family, up until around 1960 or so, and my mom and dad lived out there from 1968 on, and currently it's right next to the farm stand, and that house might be that site might be better used for parking or something else, because parking's become
Oh, yes.
a challenge for the farm stand operation. So we've considered if we could find a place to relocate that house, to put it in the back of the farm and use it for actually, it's currently being used for agricultural worker housing where it is, but the site might be better used for parking and to just continue to get traffic off the road and that sort of thing in that area.
And some of those old houses have good bones. You don't want to get rid of that.
Well, it's got a lot of good memories of
No
nothing
doubt
else.
about it, I'm sure. History.
See, you can take it with you, right?
The parking, I did reach out to Heather Lanza, who's the planning director in the town of Southold, because it is unique in that they're taking a structure from Southold, moving it here. They will require demolition permits for the house from the town of Southold, not necessarily pertinent to us. And I did reach out for those greenhouses that the planning board recently approved. And again, part of it was just, just to reach out, coordinate with them, in the event that the Harbs do use the areas where the greenhouses were in Southold for additional parking, again, just to get people off the road quicker, have, safer access, try to clear up some of that congestion on Sound, so.
We always talk in the farm community about bad actors. The Harbs are good actors. They're proactive, and thank you for your
Yes.
help when we run into these issues.
Our pleasure.
So the board's all right with I'll draft a resolution
Yes.
to approve this and we can get them going? All right.
Absolutely.
I admire the fact that you're saving that structure and moving it over
I do
as
too. I
opposed to
think
just building a new one, so.
Now I have to
Very
go
nice.
drive by and see the house.
And thanks for your
See me
patience.
knocking on your door.
Well, here's our phone number, so when the time comes, just give us a call.
I
We'll
think
give
I
you a
will.
tour.
I would love that.
All right.
Greg, could you text me the number?
Thank
Or
you.
email
Thank
it?
you.
Thank you, guys.
Take care, guys.
Good luck.
Take care. Be well. Thank you, everyone. This concludes our discussions for today, and we're going to call Joanne up to please come forward and read the resolutions for us for today.
Madam Supervisor, just before we do that, I wanted to make an announcement regarding the beach committee.
Oh,
if I
yeah.
could. The beach committee decided that they wanted to install a snow fence on the east side of Iron Pier Beach. That snow fence was installed by our B&G, but unfortunately, the installation brought it right down to the water line. So it was really hampering any 4x4s to get past the fence to go down the beach, which they're certainly entitled to do. That was never the intent of the fence. The intent of the fence was to try to keep people driving on the mean high water mark, which they're supposed to do, which is public domain, it's not private property. Without the fence there, the 4x4s were traversing straight across private property up higher near the bluffs, and they're worried about erosion from the bluffs. So that's why the request for the fence was to be put in there. We have since put in a work order to have the fence shortened so it doesn't actually go down to the water's edge. And as we all know, the mean high water mark changes constantly. There's no one set spot. That changes with tides, with storms, with everything else. So this will allow the 4x4s easier access around the fence while trying to contain them down to the lower part of the beach instead of riding up where they shouldn't be riding. So I just wanted to address that. I've gotten a lot of emails and calls since that fence was put up. So we are fixing the fence, making it more accessible for the 4x4s, but the fence will still stay up there.
Okay, and I did get to see the fence on Sunday. I decided to take a walk on.
I saw that. You were down there cleaning
Yeah,
up the beach.
it was really interesting. So right before dinner, I said to my husband, we haven't been to the beach, working a lot. I just want to take a break. We're going to go to the beach, take a walk before dinner, and we come across the Marine Rescue cleaning up garbage. So of course, things are happening and being supervised. I approached them and they said, "Oh, the supervisor's here to help us clean the garbage," and they handed us garbage bags and
Get to work.
and get to
There
work,
you
and we did. And actually, it was a lot of fun. There wasn't a lot of garbage, yeah,
Well,
which is very
Maidstone
good.
Landing actually adopted that beach, so their members walk that beach pretty much every day, and they police it pretty good down there.
Yeah,
They keep it nice and clean, so
Yeah.
we appreciate all that help.
good, okay. Joanne, can you
Ready
please?
for resolutions?
Thank you.
Resolution number 1, Approve special event, Chapter 255, application for East End Arts and Humanities Council, Inc., 27th Annual Community Mosaic Street Painting Festival.
I have to say Diane Burke is on top of her game with this
Isn't
in
she?
for next May.
Yeah, right? Okay, number 2, approve special event, Chapter 255, application for the Bob Feller Act of Valor Foundation, Act of Valor Run for Life. Number 3, approves fireworks application for Jamesport Fire Department, July 23rd, 2022. Number 4, ratifies acceptance of donation from Jamesport Greenhouses. Number 5, authorizes the supervisor to issue a letter to the Suffolk County Department of Health Services allowing the use of Pine Barrens credits originated from property located in Riverhead, Royal Development LLC. Number 6, grants final site plan approval for the site plan application of 133-139 Railroad Avenue, 133-139 Railroad Avenue, Riverhead, New York, SCTM number 600-128-3-17.1. Number 7, adopts amendment to alcohol policy for the town of Riverhead. And number 8, amends resolution number 2022-509 to authorize Lawrence M. Levy to provide additional cablecast production services regarding the 2022 State of the Town address on June 29, 2022, 7 o'clock p.m. at the Town Board Meeting Room, Riverhead Town Hall, 200 Howell Avenue, Riverhead, New York, Nunc Pro Tunc. Number 9, 420 East Main Street, Howell House Water Capital Project, number 82208, budget adjustment. Number 10, Suffolk Theater Water Capital Project, number 82215, budget adoption. Number 11, authorizes the Community Development Department to apply for a New York State DEC 2022 CFA grant for the Riverhead Sewer District's Biosolids Reuse Project. Number 12, authorizes funding application to New York State for Consolidated Funding Application, CFA 2022-Riverfront Amphitheater. Number 13, authorizes funding application to New York State for Consolidated Funding Application, CFA 2022-Riverfront Park and Adaptive Children's Playground. Number 14, authorizes town clerk to publish and post rebid for restoration of cupola at George Young Community Center. 15, authorization to publish advertisement for Highway Department grinding of town yard waste on site at Southside Youngs Avenue Yard Waste Facility. Number 16, rebid for fertilizer and lawn chemicals. 17, authorizes agreement for installation of vending machines at various locations. Number 18, establishes capital project number 72216, Stotsky Park Tennis Courts. And the last resolution, number 19, appoints a call-in bus driver to Seniors Department. That's it.
That's great.
Thank you, Joanne.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you, Joanne.
You're
Have a
welcome.
good day. Anything else?
For the tennis courts, was this put through, and Ken Tester and I had talked at length, so was this through him or through Ray that put in the request for the funding on it?
We don't have that right now. Well, you can determine that. It's not going to get voted on until Tuesday.
Well, Ray had one specific number that he wanted, and I had spoken at length to Ken Tester and said that there was a different way to go about it to save the town an enormous amount of money. And
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that we are being conservative in
Yeah,
our
so
recreation
check
funds to
with
utilize it.
Diane, see who put it in.
Yep, so
and
I'd
then,
like to see where the funding is coming from this and what, you know.
You're talking about a separate project than number 18, project
I
72216?
Yes.
presume.
Okay. And we may have money, I don't know how much that project is. I did talk to Ray from Sophus.
Bill, they can't hear you.
Yeah.
If it's the project I spoke to Ray about, because this project at Stotsky Park came in less, then we should have funds to do that other project. But if we remember, a couple of months back, we didn't have enough to do Stotsky Park. We've received some money in, and the first dollars are going to Stotsky Park. And then if we have money left over, we can do, I think this was swings, if that's the same project that you're talking about. If it's another one, I'll follow up with Ray Coyne.
All right. All right. All right, that's it, correct? Great, thank you, everyone, and this is going to conclude our work session for today. Can I have a first and a second?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? All opposed? So move. Everyone be safe, and hopefully we'll see you tomorrow. Have a good weekend.
Okay.